Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hello, our good people. It's Monday. Wow, what's the date? Is it December the 12th? It's December the 12th. Today is our friend, and I forgot to tell you, Ken Johnson's birthday today.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I gotta wish him happy birthday after we get off the screen.
Look at our favorite person on.
Oh, Yvonne Holmes.
who came to Atlanta to harass us about the Steelers. That was a few weeks ago. But okay, we give it to you, Yvonne. Whatever.
We should have won that game.
Yes, we should. We really should have won that game. We should have won all the games.
A lot of them. At least 5 of the last 6.
Yep, 5 of the last 6.
Cincinnati, the only one that came here and really beat us.
What was it? You remember the score?
I don't know, but they beat us. It wasn't close. They beat us.
What's up, Pastor Chester Martin in the house?
Chicago, Illinois. Lady Gloria, Pastor Gloria. How y'all guys doing up there? What's the weather like
That's
there?
what I was about to ask.
I hear a storm is coming through there.
Storm.
Yeah.
What?
Bad snow. Yeah, in the Midwest.
I wish it would snow like that here.
Not like that. You just wish it was snow.
So what kind of inches would you get in Chicago?
2 feet, 3 feet.
2 feet. What's that?
So, that's right. Yeah. 5 feet.
Oh, Lord. Okay, now we're talking.
Can't believe how to get out the garage.
Really? I like that. But the year we had snow like that, it was messed up.
They say it's definitely cold.
It's definitely cold. No snow yet? Hey, Gwen. No snow yet. So, let's see. Pastor says definitely cold. Okay, yes. Pastor, I see you. I like your picture over there. I see you.
Yeah.
Come on, Gwen.
He's a sharp guy.
Gwen, okay, look, Gwen, why you got all the AKA stuff on your profile? That's a nice picture. By the way, I'm a secret pink and green lover. Okay.
They off the person.
Yes. Shanard is in the house.
What's up, my son? What's up, son?
You got your popcorn ready. Come on, Shanard. Popcorn. Gonna get a Coke Zero with that. Isn't that funny how people with it?
Yeah.
Something bad, they always gotta have a Diet Coke.
Get a Baby Ruth and Joy and a Diet Coke.
we gotta come.
Let me just say that
Okay.
I love this young man, Shanard. Man, he blessed me last week. We talked about 30, 40 minutes after the broadcast last week. And he so blessed me. And when I got to church yesterday, Greg and Billy was telling me about what he shared. And I just love that they're able to impart in a young man's life to keep him on track and point him in the right direction. And a lot of times, that's what young men need. They need a mentor. They need someone who experienced those things and can point them in the right direction. They're not really off course a lot of it. They're just a course adjustment, and sometimes, they get off course or off course because they don't know what the course look like. They don't know where to find it. And unless someone like me and somebody in my generation take time to impart in these young guys' generation, because they wouldn't know. Because everything on Facebook and social media, they telling you everything but how to be a godly man. They telling you how to be a hood rat. They telling you how to be, a woman, a whore, be a hoe, and a male hoe, and they think that the more sex you have, the more manly you are. But when you really become a man, it takes one woman. Because really,
you're looking for love in all the wrong places.
Right. Because a woman got more than you ever need. One woman got all you ever need. She got places you ain't visited yet. And so it's enough. It's enough to carry you through it like fresh manna. It can be like fresh manna every day falling from heaven. Come on, somebody, you better talk to me.
Okay, so take your popcorn. Make sure no kids around. It's all about to go in.
But I just think every man should be the MVP of his house. I think he must be the most valuable player. If things are not right in the house, when he walks in, the atmosphere should change. It should automatically change when he walks in the house. Not because he's loud or because he's argumentary or because he's rude, but because he should demand a certain respect because of who he is, the way he carries himself. And like I said, make everybody MVP. What do MVP do? They make everyone better on the team. Yeah, make everybody famous. And make and put them in position to win. And how do you put your kids in position to win? You go to that ball game. You know, a lot of time we work too much. We worked one job, two jobs. No, I'm not talking. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me. I'm working one. You work two jobs. You hustling all the time, and you're buying your kids the latest iPhone. You buy them the latest sneakers. You buy them the latest hoodie. You taking them places. You send them places. But what they really want is you. They want your time and your attention. And that's the greatest thing that a dad can do for his kids is to spend time with them. And that's what they want.
Yeah.
You know?
But look, think about, and we're going to get into what we were going into last week, but think about the many men that don't have fathers. Right. So this, when we say show, we don't really mean that, but this platform is a way for us. Look, we've been doing this now, babe, a year and a half.
Wow.
And you know, we don't have no Cash App thing and saying you need to do this and we'd love if you sow it up. No, we're doing this because we want to talk real talk to people who the same things we have had
same challenges, same issues. Everybody got an issue. Everybody got an issue. I'm gonna tell you a true story. It might help somebody, it might not, but it's funny. My great uncle, Uncle Freeman, he preached 55 years before he passed, and he preached a sermon, and he passed, and he died in the pulpit. The last sermon. I mean, that's the way to go. I mean, my God, that's the way to go. And but Uncle Freeman, when he first started preaching, he was a drinker. He used to drink liquor, you know, alcohol. So I make this clear. So Uncle Freeman, he used to go to Ohio every year and run a revival. And they called him the Georgia Tornado. Because boy, he would tear church up.
Really?
Yeah.
Was he drinking at the time?
I said he was a drinker.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to see, was he drinking and pastoring, drinking and preaching?
So he was, he said he preached about 30 years before he got saved. Real saved, you know. And he was saved all the time, but delivered from, and you know the rest of my story.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So anyway, Uncle Freeman would go up there and preach the revival. So Monday night he preached, and boy, tore the church up. Just tore the church up, boy. And that's where they had the windows and the fans in the ceiling of the church, and you could hear them sisters on the wooden floors clapping feet. I know y'all don't know nothing about this, but anyway, he was preaching. And so Wednesday night, man, he tore the church up again. So here come Thursday. Uncle Freeman showed up. They sang, choir sang. They took an offering. They did everything that they could do. Uncle Freeman showed up. So just about when everybody ready to give up on him, he walked down the center aisle, drunk as coup de Brian. Drunk. And he walked down to the front of the church, and he stood on, he didn't go in the pulpit, he stood on the floor. And he said, they said, "Don't you go in the pulpit?" He said, "No, y'all, I'm drunk." He told them, said, "I'm drunk. I don't deserve to be in God's pulpit." He said, "But while I'm here, I want to just talk a little bit, and then I'm going to go." He said, "You know, my vice is alcohol. Everybody got a vice. Everybody got issues. Now, yours over there might be a womanizer. You might be a loose woman over here." And he started just building that thing. And my dad said probably the best sermon he ever preached because he was drunk. but he went on, and the people were so blessed by it. Said grown men start pulling their hair out and jumping out the window and tearing their clothes because the Holy Ghost dropped. Because see, it wasn't for Uncle Freeman. The Holy Ghost wasn't for Uncle Freeman. It was to impact the people's life. And so God can do it. They were pulling the hair. And they just couldn't take it because they were so intense, so anointed, and so blessed. So, don't let your past hinder you. If you made a lot of mistakes or you're making mistakes, don't let it hinder you. Don't let it define who you are now. I was just so blessed to be surrounded by strong men, 16, 17, maybe even 18 cousins and uncles preaching. My dad was a strong man. I mean, humble, one of the most humble men I ever met in my life. I'd seen. And he was my hero. But man, everyone respect him. I could not understand. And this is what we want to. You want to have this kind of respect for your life. I used to go. He used to take us to the barber shop, and I was like 6. Probably about 8, 9, maybe. Chris was probably 7, 6.
This is brother.
Yeah. And I would go in the barber shop. He would drop us off at the barber shop. And the guys was older to cut our hair. And they would be older men in there, and they were drinking and talking and cussing and then my dad wasn't even a preacher. He was a deacon. When Dad walked in the barbershop, it went silent. I mean, the older guys respected him, the younger people respected. It went silent. He was a deacon. So So we need those kind of men to have an impact on the young man's life, because they are worth investing in. Now, I want to ask you a question.
But I got a question for you too.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you go first. Ladies first.
You got your question. You gonna remember it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to go because I made God for my mind always to remember things. But so when you were raised by all these different men that were in your life, at any time did y'all talk about men issues? Men issues like what we talked about last week about your body, checking your prostate, going to the doctor, how you treat a woman. Well, we know what they were saying in the barbershop. Oh, she fine. Oh, we did that XYZ. But at any point did y'all talk about
house? Break house.
Say folks.
Okay.
At any point did y'all talk about in your house with your dad, or in your relationships with your guys, male friends? When did y'all ever talk about going to the doctor, checking your prostate, whatever it is, man type things?
I never heard that being a prostrate back in the day.
Yeah. I don't know what that was.
But right, because people didn't go back to the doctor. They had home remedies. And they did the home remedy thing. But to your question about did we talk about anything? No. But that was a demonstration of manhood. That was such a demonstration of manhood. They probably didn't know how to express, because you got to realize the generation before them, most that generation couldn't read all right. And they didn't know, and they couldn't articulate or explain what they were trying to say. But one thing they could do, they could show you how to live and how to treat a woman, how a man take responsibility and go to work, come home and take care of his family, go to work and bring his money home instead of leaving it in the liquor house or drug house or whatever. They was demonstrated what a man was. He go to church. He takes his family. He didn't send them. He took his family to church, and that was a demonstration. So you learn a lot by being in an environment such as that.
So now you got this conversation we were having last week. You want to ask you a question first before I go into what we're going to talk about?
I want to ask you a question. What was it like not growing up with your father? How did you feel? I know you weren't looking for that one. How left field?
I think, and this could be men or women, I grew up a little bit bitter because I'm thinking, why didn't I know who my father is? Now, I will say that I knew my last name. My maiden name is Smith, but I knew that Smith was not my true last name. Right. My brothers, of course, their father, we knew that was their father. But my mom, back in the day, parents, they didn't want to reveal all this secret stuff in the closet.
Exactly.
You know, and so I inherited last name of all my brothers. Their last name, Benny, Ricky, Tracy, Guy, everybody named Jackie, Darlene. Everybody now is Smith. And then, you know, but I grew up, even my girlfriend, I remember I was at church one Sunday, and my girlfriend, Angie, she must have said, Darlene, where's your father? You know, because we'd go to different churches and sing. My mom was a musician. And so, when people would ask me that, it would make me feel some kind of way. I just felt like ashamed, like, why don't I know who my father is? And one day, probably the fullest interesting you would be asking me this question. So I remember one day, my mom just said to me, Darlene, I know why you're upset. And yeah, I guess I just had a disposition like, I just knew something was missing in my life. And one day she just said, tell you about your father. And she started telling me he was a private investigator. He works downtown Fort Worth. And I was like, yeah, private investigator? No. Okay. I say, you a private investigator? How he didn't know to come find me, right? And so, so one day I got up enough nerve. I had just pledged Delta, and I had gone over. And I guess now that she had told me where he is, I said, you know what, let me go to downtown Fort Worth, to the city, whatever, City Hall. And so I went down there, and I went and I asked for Ray Courtney, my father's name. So my name would have been Courtney, right? And so I was thinking, Darlene Courtney, why didn't I, you know, all of that. And so I go and I walk into the entranceway of the department where he worked. Open up the door, and I said, is there a Ray Courtney here? So she says, hold on. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm about to meet somebody. And so I left and went to the restroom and ran to go get cute, you know, just trying to make him know that what he left behind was he was leaving behind a glory. He was leaving behind all this, right? And he didn't know who I was. I mean, here I am. I'm like, I work at Lockheed, and I graduated from college, and he missed out on all these years. And so I come back from the restroom. I go in the hallway, and there's this big, tall, stern-looking man. And I'm like, I said, you know who I am? And he said, yes, you're my daughter. Okay.
No, go ahead.
So I was in shock.
So what was your conversation like?
So he said, yes, I know. I've been waiting for you to come for years. I knew you would come. And I was like, you knew I would come. And so we're sitting down talking. And so he apologized for all missing out on all the years. He just said, you know, I just thought that your mom probably told you that somebody else was your dad. And so I didn't want to intrude, but I used to watch you get on the school bus every morning. I said, wow. So while I'm answering your question, I know this is moving for somebody else who had never had the opportunity to even meet their dad. What I found out is that my father was a colonel in the United States Army. And so he was at work, but he was on, we call the, when you're in the military, active.
Retired.
He hadn't retired yet, but so he was on active reserve. And so, but he was, you know, definitely, you could tell he was somebody, right? And so then I saw him in his uniform and all of that. And then, you know, I got a chance to know him, but his life was cut short, you know, just, you know, because, babe, not taking care of himself. You know, he was eating the wrong things. He was, you know, and not to say we're not perfect, because me and Fuller was just talking about today, we got to get back right. Because, you know, we want the I'm just going to use for lack of better things. We want this, or we want the fried fish, or we want the pork skins, and we want the roast and the whatever, but we need to eat the vegetables and stuff. And so he hadn't really been eating right. And so while he was young still, he was probably maybe 68, 9, 70. And so, you know, then his sister calls me and says, you know, Ray is sick. And I'm like, man, I just talked to him the other day. But he hadn't, maybe he didn't grow up with his father right. He didn't take care of himself. And so, you know, something that could have been prevented, you know, and now I still don't even know if I really know what he died from, because his life was kind of cut short. And here I was just developing a relationship with him. He knew I sang, but he had missed out on all the good parts of our life. But because he didn't take care of himself, go to the doctor. He was raised with a father. His father died early as well, but he was a good father, and he tried to be a good father now to me. But but the years had passed on, and so this conversation, for those that may not be aware, while we're talking about sexual healing part 2, we started last week with a discussion on this sexual healing as it relates to our bodies, as it relates to Fuller and going through healing from cancer and prostate cancer, now healed. And we were just talking about the things that men don't do. Right. And you guys, when we have these segments or these Facebook Lives, Fuller and I actually, we don't really spend time talking. We may talk a little bit about the subject matter, but I didn't know he was going to ask me that question tonight. And so we just kind of go for the real talk, because we know that this is going to be a blessing to people that listen to it. So, look,
hey, Billy, you got anything you want to say?
Right.
Billy Simmons, you got anything you want to put in the chat to say or ask?
I asked people to post something. Yeah. Shenard wrote, never heard of it from no mail until last week from you guys.
But I heard one of my real good friends was not raised by his father. His father died when he was 2 years old. So he still felt like he was abandoned by his dad. And he said that created some insecurities. He said he couldn't trust nobody. He didn't have a best friend or nothing, because he felt like he couldn't trust anybody. He felt inadequate. He felt.
Well, what's wrong with me? You think all that
right,
too?
And even though his father passed, but there was still an abandonment, and he felt like he just had all these incomplete feelings about what made a man. So it didn't make him. He was shy. He was kind of just felt inferior, and all these emotions that he had that caused him not to really be the maximum man that he could be.
And that's true for men, and it's true for women. So as I'm sharing my story about, I grew up, I didn't have the father, so I was thinking, what's wrong with me? Why didn't he choose me? And then once I found out who he was, because he was pretty well off, and so but I didn't have the first car from father buying a car, or somebody taking me to the high school dance, father and daughter dance, and didn't have that opportunity to go to college, and because I struggled financially, I paid for school, all Darlene self. Now my mom did the best she could, and so we got the women that are single household. Most of the time, it's the woman that's taking care of the household. But I grew up where my mom was trying. However, I didn't have all the things you just talked about. What was missing about just not having a dad in our life. I envy the people like you and other friends that I know, my girlfriend Angie, people that I know that are on here that grew up with their parents, both parents, because I didn't know what that looked like at all. It's like going through this blind eyes. I'm almost like, my best example for me, and I'm just going to use this, is being blind in one eye and being able to only see out of one. And that is true for those who don't know that I am partially blind in one eye. So it is like not seeing the whole picture. So I saw the one side with my mom. So then other people are like, man, Darlene, why are you you're so, you got it together. You're such a strong woman. Well, we ain't have no choice. Right? Because I watched my mom, what she did, and I said, I don't want to have to struggle like that. And I certainly don't want, my kids to grow up without a father. Then David passed away. But, and let me say this too, because this just came up in my spirit, that we stay in marriages that are not healthy. I'm not talking about the ones when you stood at the altar and said, for better, for worse. Those things you got to work out. I'm talking about the ones that people stay in it and it's abusive physically and mentally, and you stay in it for the kids because you want to make sure the kids, and how many people.
But you're really handicapping your kids, really, because men. My advice to you is, the way you treat your wife is very, very important, because your daughter is going to marry her daddy. And I don't mean literally marry her father. He's going to marry someone like his father. And so if you are abusive, then she's going to marry somebody that's abusive. Somebody that's cruel, somebody that talk down to her and treat her bad and might even lay hands on her. And that's the type of man she's going to wind up marrying. She's going to gravitate to that kind of guy. And see, when that guy do that to your daughter, you are going to want to hurt him, kill him, or whatever. And so you have to be mindful of how you treat your wife in front of your kids. And you should never, I've never seen my mom and dad fuss or fight. Never. I mean, I heard now through the grapevine that they used to get in the car and drive out in the country, and one of them had a blackjack and one of them had brass knuckles, and they throw down. I'm just joking, but I heard, that's how they settle, because they didn't never see us. I never heard them raise their voice at each other or anything, because they kept it out of the house. I'm not saying they didn't do it, because I heard through the grapevine that they went off and took care of business, and then they came back that way.
I just think about the people that they didn't grow up with their father, and just how it must feel. I mean, of course, we already talked about, we see most time women. I was looking at some young men today, those people that you see go through cars and they're giving out the bottled water. They're not giving it away, they're selling it, right? I think about when I see those young men, I'm thinking most of them probably don't have fathers at home, because a father's going to say, young man, let me show you a better way, like get a job, go do the right thing, don't risk your life going through the cars. I remember I used to sell candy at school, but I sold it at school. So I was in a public place and it was approved.
Not in traffic.
Not in traffic. Or the young women that end up, marrying somebody, and maybe if they had both parents in the home, it doesn't mean that people don't marry somebody crazy and they got two parents, right? But oftentimes we just see lots of different scenarios.
And then they're looking for love in the wrong places, and they start having sex early. They become, a lot of them become prostitutes because they are not the father. And I just believe a lot of young men in the gay lifestyle is because they didn't have a man example, and the only thing he do, he saw his mama wear high heels and dress and wigs, and he marked her, just marking her. And then he wasn't gay, he was just effeminate. And then the guys at school said, man, you gay, you're a punk, or you're this and that, and called them out their name. So those words has power, and words just start forming and laying a foundation and forming their life. And then they wind up in a gay lifestyle. They're really not gay. They're really just victim of circumstances.
Or maybe wanting to belong.
Yeah, that's it. And they're still a victim because they just want to belong. What does Renell to say?
So Renell says, I had hatred for my father for many years, even after his death. In my late 30s, I was ministered to and was able to forgive him. By forgiving him released me from bitterness and hatred, which had carried over into my marriage and caused challenges there. Forgiveness, because that is so good. Because when you don't have a role model to look at, like my mom got married years later. She married a man that was older than her, and so he became my father, and I would call him dad. And so the one thing that I recall about him is that he was a man of honor and integrity, and he had and we said at his homegoing, they said that he was a man of chivalry. I was like, man, that ain't gonna forever. And so, but we don't have those examples often in our home. So while we call this sexual healing, we're talking about sexual, not just in physical sex, we're talking about sexual, you as a male, me as a female,
and the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing about who we are.
But anger and cause you not to be able to perform when it comes down to performing sexual activities. But Ronaldo, I'm glad you put that up there. I'm ministering on the family tomorrow night in Augusta, Georgia, and it's called We Are Family. but I'm gonna approach it from a different point of view. And you just said it. I'm gonna talk about unforgiveness. And one of the things that Pastor Dollar always said, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and looking for the other person to die. Yeah. And so, you have to forgive because it hinders your life. It hinders your intimacy. It hinders your ability to communicate, especially if you want to communicate love. And it hinders you in so many phases of your life. When you got that anger, it just carry on.
Especially women, and I'm saying it from a woman's perspective because I'm a woman. So when I got married the first time, Mr. Greer, I call Mr. Greer my stepdad, he walked me down the aisle. But if he hadn't been there, I know a lot of people face that, whether it's male or female, they may be in the process of getting married or engaged, and they're thinking in their mind, who's going to do X? What about my mama? My mama did this. And then the other part of it is that when we blame the parent that did the best that they could, we start blaming them and say, you should have, like, I blamed my mom for years, and I was just angry with her. And I was upset that she only could send me $10, to college. And I was like, when all my other friends, they were getting $50 and they were able to go to Walmart and go shopping. And then when I got my own job, and I only had enough left, which happened to be $10.
Right.
And I was single. I didn't have no kids. She had 6 kids. And here I was judging her for what the best she could do.
And judging her by other folks' parents.
Yeah.
And looking for her to do what they did. And they had a 2 household.
Right. And you don't know the whole story, what your parents did. So if your parents did the best that they could with the one, then you ought to be thanking them, especially if they're alive. If they're not alive, man, wouldn't you want if that opportunity to say, just thank you for what you did do? Because we put that guilt on our parents, or we upset with our parents for the wrong reason, and you don't know the whole conclusion of the matter.
No.
And so, but that's something that my mom watches this too. So I know I've thanked her over, and I demonstrate my love for her by making sure I still take care of her. Good care of her. Whatever, I don't harbor no blame, no any of those things. So, babe, I'm glad that we got a man that's on here. Like Shanara said, I ain't heard none of what y'all said before. We could go on and talk about this from a whole another angle.
We got to do the female part of it too. That I'm about to say things that ladies can do to make their home conducive to make a man want to come home home. Because a lot of men don't want to come home because they're going to get all this. And so, we need to talk about a little about that too.
I think some of that, and this would be our kind of conclusion, because I know it's already 6:30 past the hour, 5:30 for those that are on Central Standard Time. I think that our women, and I'm just going to say, Darlene, maybe I was looking for my husband to be what my father wasn't. And so then you come home and you get upset about all the things that you lacked because it didn't happen in your past. And so now you expect the husband to be everything that you didn't get the first go round. And now you're frustrated when he doesn't do this. When you saw your mom didn't get whatever, the money. I remember telling by one of the guys that I want, my boyfriend in college, I remember saying to him, you gonna give me some money for whatever? Maybe I didn't have no money. That was my father's responsibility or my mom's responsibility. Right. But I was asking him like, I'm your woman. Ain't you supposed to like give me $20? You got $40 from your grandma. Supposed to get 20. He was like, Darlene, you know how you just think of stuff, right? And the stuff that we expect out of other people when we have no right.
False
expectation. But you're right, babe. We need to start now. I got to go and flip it and start talking about the things that we need to do as women too.
Because we could all improve on our love and kindness is always in season, and we can improve on our communication.
Yes. Look, Ronelda says, that's it, DQ. My husband told me, stop blaming me for what your father didn't do. That was open. And see, and I didn't even know Ronelda was going to even say that. But that's true. We've been blaming our mom and blaming our dad for stuff that you expected them to do more for you. Mm-hmm. So I even had to tell my brothers that she did the best she could. What you upset about? What you ought to be thankful for is that you have your parents that are still here. So, babe, did we get any questions from anybody?
No.
So Lonelyfield is still at 40. Lonelyfield, yeah.
Yeah.
Chenard is 48. He's still got that gap.
And he's gonna be on this coming year. We got a young couple, EJ and Sade. We got Kim and Kim, Chad and Kim. And then we got Shenard scheduled. So we got some good people scheduled. Renard is 48 and single. Kim and Chad is my light-skinned brother and sister. And they're gonna come on. And then Sade and EJ, they are been married less than 5 years. So I want to bring somebody in who had not been married a long time to talk about what are your challenges being a young man. So we got a great lineup for starting 2023, and man, it's gonna be on. We're gonna switch it up some, and I have Vera and Boo Spencer about when you can't get pregnant or you can't have babies and you adopt, and so you're gonna tune in 2023. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hot.
And so, babe, you gonna put a song on for us? We're about to roll up out of here. You guys, what are y'all doing for the holidays? Where you headed to? Fuller trying to get me to go out. I'm like, hey, going nowhere, Fuller. I just want to stay put. Have you guys enjoyed just us chatting and what we've talked about tonight? I mean, we just come up with these subjects and we hope. Fuller, oh, hold on. Think about you, baby. We want this sexual healing for all of you guys. We ain't talking about sex, guys. Just talking about healing. So what you guys got going on? Where you going for the holidays? What you doing? Hopefully you have enjoyed this segment tonight on Sexual Healing Part 2. You probably got a Part 3, Part 4, all of that. And so, but look, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you, Yvonne Holmes, our number one, come on at the very top of the hour. And so if you guys want us to talk about something specific, I know that one person asked me to talk about something related to relationships. I'm gonna get back to it, you guys. We just gonna continue the discussion. Thank you guys for joining. Share this with somebody else. We've gotten a lot of feedback from last week into this week. Y'all sorry, I kind of broke a little cheer.
That's my friend in Florida.
Yeah, that's good
hey,
talk.
How you and Jennifer?
Yes, thank you
Glad
guys.
to have you on.
Yeah, well, look, babe, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, we do.
I'm going to go finish cooking my turnip greens for tonight and some do a little Salisbury, whatever. Turkey, Salisbury.
Finish packing.
Oh,
okay. I started packing everything.
Okay. At least. Okay. Well, look, you guys, love you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time out of your Monday to listen to us. Just talk real talk.
Let's talk.
So, love you, babe. See you guys later. Until next week.
Peace out.
Tell somebody. Subscribe. This is also on YouTube, you guys. Love you.